He's Here by musicalfruits. Dubbed by Melberry Stars. Summary. Class 1A forgets Midoriya's birthday. Izuku has always been familiar with people ignoring him. It was what he was grown accustomed to while growing up quirkless. Consequently, birthdays have constantly been rough after the diagnosis. Year after year, people began to forget that it was his birthday, or rather, upon hearing his diagnosis, they wouldn't interact with him at all. His mother, ever the saint, always remembered. When he was younger, they'd spent the entire day doing whatever Izuku wanted. Usually, they watched movies and ate all of Izuku's favorite foods, always ending the day with a hearty bowl of steaming katsudon. Of course, they would top the day off with a small all-night cake for the two of them to share, his mother giving Izuku the larger half. On the other hand, his father, at first, sent a few presents at his way while he resided in America. Then they started coming on the wrong days, even on Christmas, though Izuku tried to chalk it off to the overload of mail during that time of the year. But after only 3 years, the mail stopped coming, the man cutting himself away from Izuku. It didn't stop the 7-year-old to wait patiently by the door every day, hoping for a box to come in the mail from an address in America. High school at UA was the first time since he was 4 to have people, classmates, no less interested in his birthday. It was also the first time he had friends who wanted him around during these times of their birthday occurrence as well. It sort of shocked Izuku, only knowing the days of watching movies with his mother and being ignored. Only, they were too late, and his birthday had already passed. So instead, they made a vow that they would celebrate his birthday next year. And Izuku has never looked more forward to his birthday in a long, long time. His classmates couldn't comprehend why he had burst into tears after they said that, and Izuku wasn't in any condition to tell them, only to be endlessly thankful for such wonderful people in his life. When July had rounded its way to the 2A calendar, many were working themselves to the bones for finals. Izuku understood. He, too, was doing his best. He had to try and demonstrate how he could be a hero for everyone, and internally reciprocate the feelings of those who supported him. When the day marked July 15th, Izuku jumped straight out of bed to check his phone, hoping to have already received some texts from friends. Seeing nothing but his mother's birthday wish, he thought it was because it was way too early in the morning, knowing that he liked to start his daily run before the sun rose. He sent her a thank you and promised to visit soon. He also sent a birthday wish text to Midoriya, hoping he was doing well as his job as a pro. It was a weekend as well, so even fewer students would be awake at this time. It was a weekend as well, so even fewer students would be awake for quite a while. Izuku had to be patient. It was after his run that he received a text. It was from All Might. He said, "Happy birthday, my boy. Would you like to come over later and celebrate with me?" Izuku immediately replied, saying he'd love to. Dawn turned to morning, and Izuku could hear the majority of his classmates downstairs chatting. Izuku was up in his room, wondering if they had something planned later in the day, and wanted to wish him a happy birthday in person. He couldn't be greedy either. He was lucky enough to have so many people care for him in the first place. He remained in his room until the text from Ida asking if he could come downstairs. With that, Izuku became excited. Was something going to happen? What was going to be somewhat of a surprise party? He'd never had one of those before. Taking his time going downstairs, he was greeted by Ida sliding in the front and asking, "Have you eaten your lunch? We ended up making extra." No, not yet." Ida chopped his arms. "All right then, extra serving goes to you." "Thanks, Ida," Izuku said, looking around the room. Had they not wanted to say anything yet? They'd never done anything like this with other classmates, from what he could remember. Everyone was practically piled up on the other student when it was their birthday. Slowly, Izuku walked to the table in silence, still gauging everyone's expression. and what they were doing. Kachan was with Kirishima, Kaminari, and Sarah on the couch doing something while Ida, Araka, and Asui were at the counter, bringing what they made over to Izuku. Sato and Todoroki were looking at Todoroki's phone, while Ashiro, Hagakure, and Koda were staring at the news, which displayed a new bit about rising cat sightings in the city. Shoji, Tokiyami, and Ojiro sat across Jiro and Yajirozu at the coffee table, while Aoyama was also in the kitchen, grabbing some cheese from the refrigerator. From what Izuku could tell, no one had bothered to spare him a second glance. His heart sunk, hoping it was a simple misunderstanding, and he sat down at the table trying to muster up a smile for when the three of his closest friends shared their lunch with him. His heart ached in his chest. He was probably being too greedy anyway. Besides, he had gotten on just fine with celebrating with his mother, after everyone had abandoned him. Maybe this is how it was meant to turn out, with him not having to celebrate his birthday with others. Then why was it hurting so much? It shouldn't hurt so much, right? It was just a day, a normal day for everyone else. He had finished his lunch as quick as he could before plastering a smile on his face, thanking his friends for the meal, and for thinking of him. He bolted to his room and called his mother, wanting to hear her voice and wish a happy birthday. "Hello?" she answered. "Hey, Mom." His voice sounded wobbly and broken, so he cleared his throat and said, "Thank you for the text earlier. Do you have time to talk?" "Always, Izuku. I should tell you that the other day I ran into the store and you wouldn't believe what I found." "What did you find?" "Do you remember when you were younger and all those candles shaped like All Might's hair?" He was obsessed with those candles, wanting to use them on any occasion that warranted lighting candles. He never got to buy more after he ran out, though. "Of course." "I found them again. I bought some, so when you come home, we can get a little cake, and you can have a second celebration here." Izuku tried to keep the tears from spilling from his eyes. A smile was still planted on his face, which he refused to let drop while he talked to his mother. He lived up to her expectations in being strong. "I'd like that, but do you want to hear something crazier?" "What?" "Imagine getting wished a happy birthday from All Might himself." "Oh, he did? Oh, I'm so happy for you. He's welcome to join us for a usual celebration if you liked," she offered. I'm sure he has other obligations, Mom." It never hurts to ask, Izuku. Have you been having a good day so far?" "Oh, yeah, it's been really great. My friends made me some lunch." "That's sweet of them. Anyway, I'll let you get back to the fun then. I love you." "I love you too, Mom." They hung up, and Izuku flopped on his bed looking at the ceiling. He was being selfish, wasn't he? He had plenty. Izuku woke up to the sound of buzzing on his stomach. All Might was asking him to come over to the teachers' dorms. He escaped the dorm with no interference. It looks like he was right, that everyone had legitimately forgotten his birthday. Izuku sat at a brisk pace, arriving soon after he left. All that was left was to knock. "Hey, Midoriya, what's got you over here?" Present Mike asked. "All Might invited me over." "Of course! Come in, come in." Taking his shoes off, Izuku made his way over to the elevator for teachers. They made each floor have 2 large apartments on each floor, while the first floor housed a common area without a communal bathhouse. Izuku knocked 3 times at All Might's door, taking a step back to wait for the door to open. "Happy birthday, my boy," All Might announced as he threw the door open. "Thank you, All Might." He was ushered in and guided to a small kitchen with a small bar counter. "Hopefully I wasn't stealing you from any of your class activities." Izuku bit his lip and shook his head. He couldn't tell his mentor that everyone had forgotten what day it was. It was embarrassing and, worse, humiliating. "No," he forced himself to say, not meeting All Might's gaze. "Well, hopefully you aren't sick of cake yet. I was planning on having one made by the time you hear, but I guess I lost track of time." He stumbled over to a couch to reach into a cabinet, pulling out a large glass bowl. Now that you're here, we can both create one. Izuku was immediately grateful for All Might. He's been grateful to him ever since he was a child, knowing of the man who saved thousands, smiling his ways to ease people. Now here at UA, where the man is here about to make a birthday cake for Izuku, Izuku never felt such extraordinary gratitude. Soon, Izuku's smile began to feel more natural as the two baked a cake. Although, as much as Izuku knew through watching and helping his mother in the kitchen, he wasn't sure if this was the right way to bake a cake. Everything seemed too disproportionate, to say the least. All Might, are you sure we need this many eggs? I'm quite sure. Here, look at the recipe. He turned around to the tablet that contained the online recipe for the cake they were making. Izuku leaned in, scanning the ingredient list. He noticed the header specified that it was healthy for people living without stomachs to ingest. It also mentioned that it would taste just as good as another cake. Thinking back to his mother, Izuku asked, "My mom wanted me to ask you, and it's okay if you say no. I know you're a busy person, but she would like to know if you wanted to join us for a birthday dinner later this month." "Oh, that sounds great. I'd love to join. It's quite nice of her to ask that." Izuku nodded and placed a table back where All Might originally had it. And Izuku asked, "How are we going to decorate it?" "However do you like. It's your birthday." Izuku smiled, thinking back to the countless cake decorating videos he watched in the past. Needless to say, he had so many ideas. The two carried on, Izuku taking over the stirring job while All Might set himself for cleanup duty. Have you ever thought about All Might-related birthday party supplies out there? I did, at first, but now not so much. I suppose I've gotten so used to seeing my face around because of my popularity. Something to look forward to, huh, young Midoriya? Izuku scratched the back of his head, chuckling lightly. It's so weird to think about that as part of my future. Sure is. You'll get used to it eventually, though. I must say, seeing an unmaster can be startling, no matter how long you've seen it. Izuku whipped his head over to his mentor, appalled. He was already embarrassed at the few times All Might had witnessed the amount of merch in his room. Are you referring to my collection? He asked, aghast. Somewhat, he shrugged. I was thinking more over to the commercials and factories that produced them. Sighing, Izuku tried to picture figurines of his body being mass-produced on a conveyor belt. You're right, it's kind of creepy. I can't believe I'll have to release some of my own. Izuku groaned. Don't worry, my boy, I'm sure everyone will love it. Besides, I'll have to begin a collection of my own, All Might said, placing the now clean utensils back on the drying rack. Hearing this almost made Izuku drop the bowl full of batter. A collection? All Might, of me? Of course, I wouldn't miss in any way to support you. Izuku's mouth gaped open. Remind me later, but I have something to show you. Aside from your present, that is. You didn't have to get me anything, All Might, Izuku insisted. Nonsense, my boy, I wanted to. Izuku knew that he wouldn't be able to refuse if All Might was pushing for it so hard. Once he finished with the batter, he poured it into the pan and set it out for baking. What colors did you want me to make for the frosting? How about this? When the cake comes out, we cut it in half, so I can decorate one side and you can decorate the other, Izuku proposed. Make it into a competition, if you will. I see. It sounds like a plan. In actuality, Izuku didn't want to have to say that he was always had an All Might-themed cake. He's always had an All Might-themed cake right after they had a conversation about merchandise and marketing. It was embarrassing enough as it is that along with the fact that his mentor had expressed an interest in Izuku's own merch. They separated from each other's side, choosing the opposite sides of the kitchen to make their colors and prepare for the new competition. Izuku was going to give it his all to decorate this cake. He wouldn't be able to handle the mortification if he had managed to screw up an All Might-themed cake. Another aspect of a hero's life is fan mail, as you know. Oh, no. Izuku was feeling an impending red face to happen any second now. It's something so meaningful to have people send their thanks and support through letters. Izuku had never thought All Might had gotten a chance to read fan mail. He was the #1 hero, and there was millions of people living in Japan. Continuing, he said, "When I first started out, I read every single letter I could, placing many of them throughout my office. Many of them were thankful for my actions, and some thanked me for saving their family members. The thing is, young Midoriya, those letters are so rewarding, and I want you to keep those that are given to you personally incredibly close to your heart. Though," All Might laughed heartedly, "the reason why I'm telling you this is going to be apparent later." Izuku smiled down at the mix of colors of buttercream. He was reminded of the letters he got from Koda and Eri, thanking him for saving him. He had kept them in his room, stored away in boxes for safekeeping. He was lucky. Lucky for meeting All Might, lucky for making him his mentee, lucky for making him bake a cake with him too. Upon realizing what All Might had done, Izuku squeaked in surprise. It was a frosting redunting of Izuku's hero costume. "It's my costume," he said in awe. All Might laughed at Izuku's cake. "I should have known. I've always had an All Might cake at my birthday," Izuku tried to reason. "Wait, why did you do my costume?" It has to do with some stuff I was talking about earlier. Hold on. Let me get you some candles, and I can get your present." After opening a few drawers behind Izuku, All Might returned and set 17 candles on All Might's cake. "I'll be right back," All Might said, vanishing from Izuku's view into another room. Izuku had wondered what All Might had gotten him if it had to do with some of their conversation topics while they made with the cake. "I have returned with your gift," All Might had announced. "Let me get a match and we can cut the cake, okay?" Izuku nodded, wondering what could be inside the box that All Might had held under his long arm. All Might sang him a happy birthday, while Izuku tried to force his tears to remain inside his eyes, only recalling that no one else had remembered his birthday. So he stared at the candles, watching them flicker, and daring himself not to cry. Izuku blew the candles, wishing for more moments like these, where he was surrounded by seamlessly endless support. "Thank you, All Might," he choked out. "It's no problem. I enjoy spending time with you, successor or not, young Midoriya." He held out the gift to Midoriya. "Would you rather eat your cake first or open this?" "Maybe we should have cake first. I doubt you've eaten as much as you should today, All Might." Laughing, he said, "Recovery Girl has given me enough of an earful as is. I appreciate your concern, though. Now, let's eat." Before anything, the two took a picture of themselves in front of the cakes, sending the pictures off to Izuku's mother. When they finished, they walked over to the living room where All Might placed Izuku's gift on the coffee table. "There you go, my boy." Izuku traced the edges of the box and then delicately opened it. Inside lay a figure of All Might at the end of his final fight with All for One, his fist raised profoundly and victoriously in the air. It was an incredibly limited edition figure. It was the last piece of merch All Might would sell. His hand whipped to All Might's eyes, already flooding with tears. Oh my goodness, All Might!" I know, but that's not all. Keep looking." Taking the box figurine out of the box, Izuku came across an envelope. Carefully, he opened it, pulling a piece of paper, as it read, "Young Izuku, the day I met you has become one of the days I cherish most. Meeting you has become such a heart-filled moment. I'm ashamed to think that I could have ended up never developing a relationship I have with you now. If I had to decide to confront you, even though I've offered you this power as of now, you should know that I see you more as a successor, as a symbol of peace. I see you as a cherished friend and close to me, like a son." Izuku began to cry. A son to All Might. His own father couldn't even be bothered to remember his birthday or visit. All Might was more of a father to him than Hazashi Midoriya. Maybe Todoroki was right. Somewhat. And All Might kind of was his dad. I hope I wasn't overstepping there, but it's true. You've changed my life and for the better, and I'm grateful to have you in my life. Aside from that, I probably should have started with it. Happy birthday, young Izuku. Now I know you've already received your first piece of fan mail from young Koda, but I hope you can accept mine as well on the next page. Dear Hero Deku, I met you when you were younger, without power, asking me if you could be a hero someday without a quirk. I replied no. However, I regret that deeply. That day, I saw something that shook me to my core. During a villain attack where heroes who arrived at the scene hesitated, even me, you rushed in full speed. And that effort to save another person, you reminded me what heroes are here for and what heroism is about. It was inspirational, so much so I gained the strength to fight in your stead. This letter is about you, and how you changed me for the better. You saved me that day, reminding me of my morals. You saved young Bakugo. I know that you'll save many more people in your life, not just with your quirk, but with your heart. Just like you've saved me and continue to save me as you remind me to eat right and make sure I'm doing all right. I appreciate it more than you will ever know, which is why I've decided to write you a letter of fan mail. Continue to do your best. You have my support now and forever. Your biggest fan, All Might. Izuku's tears couldn't be held back any longer, now freely dripping onto All Might's coffee table. All Might, he croaked. I meant all of it, young Izuku. You're a hero. You've always and always will be. Izuku went straight into a hug, clutching the older hero's shirt in his fist. Thank you so much, All Might. I'm gonna hold on to this forever. He was definitely staining All Might's shirt with his tears by now. All Might, you made my birthday amazing. I thought today was gonna be terrible. Thank you. Izuku, it's not a problem. I'm here for you. Izuku shook his head. It's different. My classmates, they forgot. I've never had a good experience with birthdays in the first place, and then Izuku sobbed again before tears tearing himself away from the hug. And then you invited me over and gave me the best birthday I've ever had. All Might pulled Izuku into a hug, rubbing circles into his back. It's fine now. Why? Because you're here, Izuku finished. His arms fell at his side, saying, All Might, you're still my hero too. Thank you for listening, and come back next time at Melberry Stars for a daily dose of angst or anything else. Bye.